tomorrow or next Friday.
Okay. Everybody, this is a special meeting agenda. It is the County Board of Canvassers regarding elections, and it's September 8th, 2022, 3:31 p.m. I'm calling this meeting to order. In attendance are Commissioners Brooks and Duncan. Are there any changes to the agenda? All right, today we're handling the canvass of the August 30th, 2022 school election pursuant to Idaho Code 341205. And Chief Deputy or our elections manager, Asa Gray, take it
We're going to
away.
let Asa take it away.
All right.
Excellent.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Asa Gray for the record. Before you today is the results in the form of an abstract for our August 30th, 2022 school election, along with a short narrative that I will briefly go over, just of kind of an overview of some of the things that we saw happen this election. So first off, I do want to mention our total number of ballots cast this election was 11,003. We did have just over 52,000 eligible voters, including Election Day registrants, so we had an average turnout of 21.04% across the 39 precincts that were operating this election. That is actually realistically kind of high for an August election compared to what we would have seen in past times. Granted, we don't have August very commonly. So that was, heartening to see people coming out and exercising their constitutional ability to vote. So we did, of course, as usual, test our machines for logic and accuracy prior to and after the counting of all ballots. Commissioner Brooks was there for our public test the day before the election, and then we tested them the morning of the election before running any absentees, and after all ballots were counted on election night. As is the case normally, we had 100% agreement in every test with our test deck and how the tabulators were reading those test ballots. No issues there. So that's always good to see that everything's functioning properly and we aren't having any problems with those. Especially with the talk at the national level. We always like to make sure everything here is going smoothly and we're being diligent in our processes. The election results were posted shortly after 10 p.m. on election night. I think that might almost be a new record for being quickly done in the evening, which was very, very nice this time. Considering in the primary we were there until 5 a.m. So we will take that. We did post precinct results a couple days later after we had been able to kind of process some, through our procedures for canvassing and get those uploaded. Again, as I mentioned before, we had 21.04% turnout. We did have our lowest turnout in precinct 517, which had 11.08% of its eligible voters come out to vote. And our highest turnout was 35.45% in precinct 410. Our early voting absentee and mailed out absentee ballots that were tallied totaled 4,898, which is exactly what we expected based on the number of voters checking in during early voting and the number of voters returning their absentee ballots to our office. So that was, again, everything was accurate there and went smoothly. We did have a relatively high number of absentee votes in percentage proportion to our total vote share this time. A lot of that's due to people requesting absentee ballots for both the primary and general and checking that box for August in between them as well. So we sent those out automatically to them for this year. Again, ballots cast and tabulated by the machines were matched against the e-poll books, as is always the case. 37 of our 39 precincts had 100% accuracy on this measurement. The two anomalies we did have are we had two precincts where there was one more ballot cast into the ballot box and tallied by the machines than there were voters checking in. We attribute this to a ballot sticking together with another one when it was handed out. It's something we emphasized highly in training this time to be watching for. So definitely saw, we didn't have a lot of those in May, but we did see a reduction in precincts dealing with that this time. So that was really good to see. That only two errors out of 11,000, well, 3 counting the one we had during early voting, which I'll get to in a moment, out of 11,000 ballots cast. So during early voting, we printed our ballots on demand, as we have been doing for several elections now. We had 642 ballots cast during early voting over the 2 weeks. We did have one voter in the process of going through and re-registering them. There was an error made in inputting the information into the e-poll book, and they were given a Coeur d'Alene School District ballot to vote, and they voted it and cast it and left. And afterward, we went over there, or the other staff members went over there and realized that person's new address was actually in the Lakeland School District, and they should not have been able to vote that Coeur d'Alene School District ballot. So that was the only error during early voting, was that ballot. As I said before, of 6,105 election day ballots cast, we only had those 2 errors. We did have 6 voter registration errors, and what we mean by that is typically that's something on a voter registration card not being fully completed. So we had, I believe, one card, someone did not mark one of the check boxes. Another one, someone left off their date of birth. I think we had one where someone left off their social or their driver's license number. And then we did have a couple ones where it was like, could potentially have not been an error. Like there's a spot on there where they have to put how long they've lived in Idaho. Someone wrote less than a month. It's possible that since they would have had to show proof of residency, that they'd been there 30 days, but August has 31 days. So maybe the voter was thinking, I haven't been here a month yet. That may not have actually been an error, but we count it just to be completely transparent and covering everything there. So we just had those minor errors. Again, those 6 out of 226 for a registration accuracy percentage of 97.3%. And of course, we always like to address those in training every time to make sure that we're minimizing errors and hopefully eliminating them. Again, none of these errors affected any results of anything on the ballot. As I'll mention here in a moment about the results of the 2 levies, they were not within 3 or 6 or 9, even if you combine registration and balloting errors together, votes. And again, unusual factors in this election, we did just have a higher number of absentees than we often see in some of these smaller elections due to people requesting them for the full calendar year through our general election. And now moving over to the abstract for a moment, I will just cover the results of these 2 levies, which are unofficial, of course, until you vote to accept them today. We have the larger sheet is the Coeur d'Alene School District levy. That question did not get the 55% threshold that it needed in order to be passed. It received slightly over 50% approval. And I won't go through every single precinct's tally or anything like that. I'll let you review those as you choose. But I will say that we did have one precinct, you may notice, precinct 518, where there were only 6 eligible voters in the precinct that fall in the Coeur d'Alene School District, and 2 of those 6 showed up. So we did actually have 33% turnout in that precinct because 2 out of 6 showed up. And then Plummer-Worley School District on the back of that page, they only encompass portions of 2 of our precincts in our county. And for our county, they did get over the 50% plus 1 approval rate that they needed for their levy. And I won't reference the results elsewhere because I don't know if they have canvassed yet. But again, overall turnout was 21.04% this election, with 4,256 ballots cast by mail overall. And if there's any questions, I'm prepared to answer as best I can.
Okay, I think I'm fine. Any questions?
I'm fine.
All right. Just appreciate your team and pulling off another election. And I know it's really hard in this day and age, so just want you and your team to know that you're very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, well, with that, no other questions. I think you covered it all. Did you want to make a motion?
Sure. I move that we accept and approve the canvass of August 30, 2022 school elections pursuant to Idaho Code 35-1205.
I think it's 34-1205.
Was it 34-1205?
Yeah. I'll second that.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Duncan.
Aye. All right, so the election has been canvassed, and thank you. Any public comment? Nope. Okay. Well, there you go. Thank you. Meeting adjourned, 3:40.